So in the previous class, we talked about the functioning of electric motors. So what is the primary work of an electric motor? Can anybody tell me? What is the primary work? What is the primary output from an electric motor? Absolutely so. So the job of an electric motor is to convert electrical energy to mechanical energy. As you have seen, as I have explained, this is what is happening all around us. If you provide electricity and then it provides mechanical energy, preferably rotation, and then the rotational energy can be converted into many other types of mechanical energy by pulleys and levers. That's a different thing. So basically what electric motor does is convert electrical energy from mechanical, to convert mechanical energy from electrical energy. Now, if mechanical energy can be generated from electrical energy, can the reverse be possible? Can mechanical energy be converted into electrical energy also? The answer seems to be a big yes. And this is what is all about a concept that is called as electromagnetic induction. So basically, what is the entire thing that we'll be dealing with right now? A way by which mechanical energy can be converted into electrical energy. We provide some mechanical input, and with that, it will provide us electricity. Are you getting my point? This phenomena is called as electromagnetic induction, because electrical energy, or rather current, is induced into a circuit by mechanical motion. That is the reason why it is also called as electromagnetic induction. Now, why electromagnetic induction? Because without the presence of an electric and magnetic field, mechanical energy cannot be converted into electrical energy. Is my point clear? Now, what happens is, you might have seen that when there was a coil like a solenoid, and if you had passed electricity through it, you would have seen deflections in a compass, correct? This phenomena you had seen. Electromagnetic induction, as I have said, is just the opposite of that. What is it? Now, suppose you had a circuit like this, a solenoid that is connected to a galvanometer. What is a galvanometer? A galvanometer is a device that helps us to measure little small deflections in current along with its direction. So galvanometer is a device. I'm going to show you an online video of that. But this is what galvanometer does. If there is any kind of small deflections of current in the circuit, galvanometer will be the first device to note that. Is this clear? So you have this galvanometer, and now what you do is, you take a magnet. And you start just kind of you start pulling it in and out very fast. If you put it in, you will see there is a deflection in galvanometer. If you put it out, you will see there is a deflection in galvanometer. That means without any kind of electrical apparatus or current providing, any kind of battery or something like that, directly just out of a magnetic field, you are developing current in a circuit. Are you getting my point? This is called as electromagnetic induction. Yes, this happens. Now, first of all, by your logic, this would be kind of unbelievable, because you have not dealt with this kind of things. So let me show you an experiment for the same. Are you able to see the screen? Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The left side, this is the solenoid, that is the copper coil actually. You can do it in home also. This is a bar magnet that you can collect from any stationery store. And this is the galvanometer that helps us to see little deflections in current if there is current in the circuit. So see the experiment.
कॉपर कॉइल के वायर एंड्स को हम गैल्वेनोमीटर के टर्मिनल के साथ कनेक्ट करेंगे। कॉपर कॉइल के एक एंड को गैल्वेनोमीटर के पॉजिटिव टर्मिनल से और दूसरे एंड को नेगेटिव टर्मिनल के साथ कनेक्ट करेंगे। बार मैग्नेट के नॉर्थ पोल को कॉपर कॉइल के पास लेकर आने पे गैल्वेनोमीटर में डिफ्लेक्शन दिखाई देता है। ये डिफ्लेक्शन इंडिकेट करता है कि कॉइल में करंट इंड्यूस्ड हुआ है। ऐसा ही डिफ्लेक्शन हमें बार मैग्नेट के साउथ पोल के साथ भी मिलता है।
Are you seeing this? You can do this simple experiment at your home also. The moment a bar magnet is being inserted into the coil, you see that there is a current deflection here. Current is being generated. This is what is electromagnetic induction. A motion is generating an electric current. See this.
बट डिफ्लेक्शन की डायरेक्शन बार मैग्नेट के नॉर्थ पोल वाले केस से ऑपोजिट होती है। अगर मैग्नेट कॉइल में स्टेशनरी रखी जाती है तो डिफ्लेक्शन नहीं होगा।
See, if some of you might be asking that if the magnet is kept stationary inside the coil, why is it that there is no deflection? It is simply because, as you will learn in higher classes, that it is the change in magnetic field, or rather there is a quantity or terminology called as flux. A change in flux causes the current to flow. There is an entire equation of physics based on that. Yes. So magnetic field needs to constantly change in order for electric current to pass. If there is no change in magnetic field, there would be no current. Okay.
अगर हम बार मैग्नेट को स्टेशनरी रखें और कॉइल को मूव करें तब भी करंट इंड्यूस होगा।
Is this clear to you all? Because the nature of north poles and south poles are different, are just opposite to each other. So how this happens, we shall discuss later, not right now. Right now it's not relevant. I said you that after I complete the chapter, I shall go into intricate details. That is when I shall cover these small things. Okay, are you getting my point? Okay, right now this is not important, but did you note this thing that when you have mechanical motion here with a magnet in an electric circuit, a current is generated, right? It is quite illogical to think, or rather our logical mind is not ready to take such things, but it is possible and it is the case. This is what we call as electromagnetic induction. Am I clear up to this? Okay, am I clear? Now, if I can produce current like this, can I not produce constant current by constant motion? Just like I created constant motion by constant current in electric motors? I can, right? This phenomena is called as generation of electricity. The device, the gadget that we use to do the same is called as electric generator. Okay. So actually motor functioning in the reverse way is a generator. Okay. Yes, you might have seen this. I don't know how many of you experimented, but I experimented these things thoroughly in my home. There was a brother of mine. He built a cycle like this. How was the cycle? He put a simple motor here and he connected it to a small light. The faster I cycled, the brighter the light glowed. Why? Because of electromagnetic induction. The motor here Now I was providing it with motion, so it was generating current. Okay. In the previous case, when I provided it current, it generated motion. Now I am doing the opposite thing, so it is generating current. Are you getting my point? So in case of generator, we shall here learn specifically a kind of generator that is called as AC generator. AC means alternating current. Okay, AC means alternating current. What is an alternating current? This is what is alternating current is a bit complex, but at our scope, there are currents which are direct current. That means it continues to flow in just one direction only. Okay, there is no directional change here. But there is yet another kind of current that is called as DC, or this is DC. There is another kind of current called as AC, or alternating current. What it means is every second it changes its direction multiple times. This is how the current happens. And this is exactly the current that we are using from years. In the time of our parents, there was this DC. Now, this is the reason why, as we shall come after this, we shall come in the domestic part about this in detail. Why most of the town remained unelectrified was because we were using DC current. And this was kind of very inefficient as a source of current. But alternating current replaced these by a huge amount, by a huge margin. We shall discuss that. But before learning the mechanism of an electric generator, let us learn something else that can predict the direction of current given the direction of motion in electromagnetic induction. That is called as Fleming's right hand rule. Do you remember Fleming's left hand rule? What was the purpose of Fleming's left hand rule?
So it force direction.
Yes, sorry?
Direction of force.
Yes, absolutely so. When there was a current that was being applied in a loop under the presence of a magnetic field, then there was a force that was exerted, and that was precisely what we described, or the direction we described by Fleming's left hand rule. Correct? It is a qualitative measurement and not a quantitative one. We cannot find out how much force was exerted using Fleming's left hand rule. And this is the same here also. Fleming's right hand rule gives us a way to find out the direction of current flow if we know the direction of its motion. Are you getting my point? So this is very simple. When you have a system which generates motion from current, which generates motion, you use Fleming's left hand rule to find the direction of motion. When you have an apparatus which generates current from motion, you find the direction of current by Fleming's right hand rule. Is this clear to you? Is this clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
this is what we shall learn right now. How to find the direction of current in a circuit, given that I am constantly keeping up with its motion. So what does it say? Once again, the statement is very simple. Take your right hand the same way you took your left hand. Don't confuse right hand thumb rule, Fleming's left hand rule, and Fleming's right hand rule, please. There had been a lot of cases where students fall into confusion. Let me tell it very distinctly. When you have only a current carrying conductor or a current carrying loop, and you want to find the magnetic field lines around it, or if you have a structure of magnetic field lines, you want to find the direction of current flow, then you use only, there is called as right hand thumb rule. There is no Fleming or anyone involved. When you come to a situation where you need to find the direction of force applied in a system where there is a magnetic field and a current being applied, then you use Fleming's left hand rule. And if the situation is completely opposite, that means if you need to find the direction of current in a circuit, if you are constantly keeping it in motion, keeping a loop in motion under the influence of a magnetic field, that is when you should apply Fleming's right hand rule. Am I clear? Am I clear to you at this point? So once again, Fleming's right hand rule is absolutely same. So this thumb, what did the left hand thumb represent in left hand rule? What did it represent? What did the thumb represent? Force. Current was always represented by middle finger, and the forefinger represented the direction of magnetic field. Don't forget these things. There are just three things, only three fingers. So thumb always represents, see, you try to remember it like this, that there is this thumbs up, you need to apply force like this to open up thumbs up or Coca-Cola. Yes, to open up glass bottles of thumbs up or Coca-Cola. This way you remember that thumb represents force. You need to apply force like this. Is this clear? Force, a direction of motion, blah blah, whatever. This forefinger represents the direction of magnetic field, and the middle finger represents the direction of current. Whatever be the case, be it left hand, be it right hand, the middle finger always represents the direction of current. The thumb always represents the direction of movement, and the forefinger always represents the direction of magnetic field applied. Is this clear? So once again, I'm not very good at drawing, but still, my God, whatever. Ensure that all of these are perpendicular to one another. This is the thumb. This would represent the direction of force or movement. This would represent the direction of magnetic field, and this would represent the direction of current. What you all need to do is to adjust according to the situation given to you. Okay? Now we shall start studying a structure that is called as generator. So we shall start with something called as AC generator. You will see how applying motion in one constant direction changes the direction of current multiple times in a circuit. So the structure is almost the same as that of a motor, almost. Why almost? Because I'm talking of AC generator. There would be a little difference, otherwise the direction of current would be constant. So first of all, let me start with this AC generator. This is the fundamental system of all the powerhouses that you see. This is how it works fundamentally. Are you getting my point? The power generation plants, this is their fundamental technique of work actually. So there is this axle, and I'm not once again a very good artist, so pardon me. This is a brush, this is a ring, this is another ring. Please check the diagram of NCERT once. Please check the diagram of NCERT once. You will be much clearer with that. Everybody have NCERT with you? Everybody is having NCERT with you?
Yes, sir.
Open it, page number 236. Open it up and just check the diagram. It is necessary because there is a little difference in the structure. There is a little difference in the structural construct of this AC generator. Rest, otherwise all the things are almost the same. Okay. Now see, the structure, if you look at it properly, There are two brushes once again, but this time there are rings. There are rings. Are you seeing this? There are rings that are supporting the brushes. Is that clear? Okay. Yes. Previously there was split ring because we needed to maintain the direction of current in the specific order. Okay. But here you see, if you rotate the coil ABCD, if you rotate the coil ABCD, do you see that the connection will be constantly same because the brush will always touch the same ring? Are you seeing this? If you rotate ABCD, see the B1, the part of the wire with B1 will always be in touch with the first ring, the inside ring, and the B2, the brush B2 will always be in touch with the outside ring. Are you seeing this? Is this clear to you? I mean the figure, the visual, is this clear to you? See, if this rotates like this, suppose it rotates like this. So what happens is something like this, okay? Say same thing. Here is the brush, here is the first ring, and here is the brush, here is the second ring. Do you see that it is always in contact? The first brush is always in contact with the first ring, and the second brush is always in contact with the second ring. Is this clear to you? Please confirm. Okay. So now we shall start rotating this. Now we shall start rotating this AC generator. Now suppose we started rotating it in this direction, up. So basically AB is getting a force up and this CD is getting a force down. Am I clear on this? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now apply the principle of electromagnetic induction here, or Fleming's right hand rule here, and tell me what will be the direction of current in this AB and CD. Can you tell me? Can you try? See, apply right hand rule in this situation, Fleming's right hand rule. So as you can see, the direction of magnetic field is in this. The direction of magnetic field in this direction, and the AB wire is moving like this up. So can you find the direction of current? Magnetic field like this, force is getting up, so current is from A to B inside. Are you getting my point? Don't even mistakenly apply left hand rule here. This is the mistake that many of you would do if you are not in touch with the proper layout of the concept. When I am trying to generate current from motion, it's always and always and always Fleming's right hand rule. So it's very obvious from A to B, B to C, and from C to D, of course it will go from C to D because this is just the opposite case, and from D to A. So if you rotate it, if you start rotating it, the current would be generating in this direction. Am I clear up to this? Am I clear up to this?
Yes.
But the moment you have one complete cycle, please understand this, the moment you have one complete cycle, now CD will be here, and because the direction of motion is constant, are you seeing that the current would be in this direction right now? CD, see, the current was like this, you rotated it like this, so the current was in this direction in CD. Am I correct? Am I correct? But now you are rotating it upwards, so the direction of current on CD will change once again. Am I clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Please understand, this is what is implied here by alternating current. The direction constantly keeps on changing. If CD, because CD is only connected to only one part, okay, there is no split ring combination, there is full rings. So CD is only connected to one part. So at one time the direction of current is like this, and just after one cycle the direction of current is like this. It has to change for the motion to be continued, isn't it so? Is this clear? Is this clear? So the moment you keep on rotating it, you will see the direction of current will continuously change. Are you able to visualize this? Or shall I explain once again? Yes, of course, of course. So you have to be very clear that you need once more to be explained. See, please understand this. First of all, the current is in this direction when I'm rotating it like this. Is this clear?
Yes.
Now CD is connected to only one part of the wire. Is this also clear to you? CD is always connected to one ring. This is not the split ring combination that it changes always. Because it is connected to one ring, when the current through CD was flowing like this, the initial current through the circuit would be in this direction. Is this clear? Now after one full rotation, can you visualize that CD will be here and AB will be here? Can you see this?
Yes.
Now current was flowing from C to D, isn't it so? Did you see this? Current was flowing from C to D.
Yes.
But now, the moment it holds this position, for this particular motion, direction of motion, the current must flow in this direction. Isn't it so? By Fleming's right hand rule. So just after half cycle, the current changes its direction. Now it is from D to C. That means the direction of current will change in just half a cycle. Is this clear to you?
Yes.
This is what I meant by constant changing in the direction of current. Am I clear? Am I clear? This will continue. This is also with this part. This will go on. Am I clear?
Yes.
This is the difference between this structure and split ring. What happens in split ring? Every time the circuit configuration is the same, it does not matter what. But here you see, because one part of the circuit is always connected with one specific ring. Here this ring, this part of the ring was once connected to this, and the next moment it was connected to this after one rotation, isn't it so? But in this AC generator connection, please note it that there is only one ring that is supporting a part of the wire always. Did you notice it? That's why this particular arrangement produces an alternating current. Annesha, is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Is this clear? Is structure working?
Yes, sir.
Are you saying yes, sir, just because you have to say, or did you really understand?
No, sir.
Okay. So this is first of all AC generator. This is one particular type of generator. So you see how easily you can use Fleming's right hand rule to explain how beautiful this is. If you are just rotating a machine, it is producing electric current. And when it is alternating in nature, we call it as alternating current. So this is AC generator because this particular structure produces an alternating current. Now, please open page number 236 of NCERT and read this entire section 13.6 on generators. Please read it. Page number 236. Everybody, I'm giving you 5 minutes. After that, I shall ask from each of you, what did you understand? In your own language, you would have to explain to me. Okay? 236. Just this one page, electric generator. You just read and you tell me. It is only the ring structure that is helping in alternating the directions of current every half rotation. Had it been for split rings, the direction of current would have stayed constant. Are you getting my point? The direction of split rings, the direction of current in a split ring combination would have stayed constant. And this is our next topic of interest. So our next topic of interest would be DC generator. So what is a DC generator? DC generator is just the structure of a DC motor, just in a reversed order. Okay, what do I mean by reversed order? The motion is happening here. I'm providing the motion and it is providing the current. That's all. Yes, this is a DC generator is the same arrangement of that of DC motor, but here just we provide the motion and we get a current output here. See what happens. If I provide the motion continuously like this, it goes in this way. This split ring comes to here. So basically when it comes to here, when this split ring comes here, it actually performs in the same way. So basically if this is ABCD, and after one cycle, it is kind of like this. If it is kind of like this, so you see the structure has not the structure has not changed at all. Do you notice this? Shikha, are you getting this point? The structure has not changed at all. The structure remains absolutely same in both the cases. Are you noticing this?
Yes, sir.
Because the structure is same, the flow of current, the direction of flow of current is maintained constant here. Is this clear? So basically DC motor and DC generator have nothing uncommon. It is just in DC motor, this structure is used to generate motion out of current, and in DC generator this structure is used to generate current out of motion. Is this clear? Is this clear? So
Yes, sir.
what is the practical application of generators? Almost everywhere where you have to develop current, where you have to generate current, generate electric power, you must need generators. There are no other way. So you have a windmill. Anybody of you have seen windmills? There are these
Yes.
deep seas and there are this series of windmills that rotates. These rotates, the windmill rotates like this, it rotates, and the motor here, it generates electricity. The motor here acts as a generator. Okay, the structure here acts as a generator. When it rotates the axle, it generates electricity. Is this clear?
Yes.
Then you have this dam. Dam is not this dam, only this dam. Dam, like where you can generate hydroelectricity. So the mechanism is once again the same. There is a water flow and you use a kind of structure that would rotate in this water flow, and by this rotation you connect it to a generator which will produce electricity. This water flow, I'm constantly using this water flow to generate electricity. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Whatever this kind of sources you have, suppose you have a car. Did you see people talking of car batteries? The car batteries would get discharged and blah blah. When you are not running a car, don't put in AC, the battery will discharge. Did you hear this kind of statements? So there is a battery inside of every car. You might have seen this. This is the structure of this, like this. Did you see this? Like this? The batteries, these are very heavy. Anybody of you have seen the battery of car? Nobody saw the battery of car. So what is this battery of car used for? This battery of car is used to provide this light, sounds, AC, and if there is fan inside the car, fan, and blah blah blah. All the electricity components of here is by the battery. Now, how is this battery charged? See, for a long time, you need not pull out this battery for a long time. This is because when the wheels rotate very fast of a car. This rotation, when it is attached to a generator, it generates an electric current and it recharges the battery. So when the car is running, the battery gets recharged continuously, and you have the supply of lights or whatever the electricity demands that you have. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So these are the practical applications of generator in your everyday life. You are having this almost everywhere. So these are the parts. This is how, by Fleming's right hand rule, you can easily see or check it how current can be generated or how current is generated given that you have a mechanical motion. The phenomena fundamentally is called as electromagnetic induction, but then an extension to it. See, this is called as engineering. This is physics. Fleming's right hand rule is physics, but designing this AC generator is engineering. Are you getting my point? Engineering is nothing but applying the application of the concepts that are already there, already existing. Now, if nobody engineered this structure, we would not have AC generators today. Merely from physical theories, it is not possible to deduce anything practical. Anything practical you do is with engineering. Like previously, computers were run by vacuum tubes. It was responsible for a huge heat in the system and also a huge structure of the computer. But then, when we had studied about semiconductors, we developed theories about semiconductor. Somebody developed a transistor. Now, this transistor is a concept, and its engineering completely replaced the entire world of computers. Now I can have a computer in my lab. Even 30 to 40 years ago, a computer had to be fit inside a big room. Big room, very heavy, very slow, very tedious, time taking, blah blah blah. Let me say 50 years. 50 years would be a safe time limit. But just after the invention of, or rather the engineering of semiconductors, we have this transistor, for which you are having computers right now, where you are having highly functional mobiles. These mobiles are faster than the computers that existed 50 years ago. Okay, this is the kind of marvel that we have achieved in terms of engineering. So whatever be the physics behind any kind of concept, ultimately, fundamentally, you need engineering to master it in your own way. So this is all about the electromagnetic induction and generators. Anybody having any doubt here? So the next thing, or the last thing in this chapter, is called as domestic wiring. Now, as I have said, domestic means something related to your house. What is it? Wiring. So in the last chapter on electricity, we have described how to calculate electric power, how to calculate how much money you would be giving to the electricity department every month. In this chapter, in this part, we shall go even at a more fundamental scale to see how the connections are done in our house at the first place. So when our house was built for the first time, I saw electricians coming and connecting the wires, putting the wires like this, and I often wondered at how do this happen? Because I knew only one thing back then, that if you have a battery, if you connect positive terminal and negative terminal to a light or a motor, it will rotate. This is the only thing that I knew back then. I'm talking about when I was in class 6 or 7 maybe. So I just wondered how did so many complex connections happen? So you would be happy to know that the answer is here in this part. So what happens is, first understand that the entire source of us receiving electricity right now is alternating current. Direct current, which was used before, had lots of disadvantages, including the fact that it consumed, the electricity lost was huge, the energy lost was huge. It could not be transferred to large distances, as a result of which the villages, many villages could not be electrified. Those remained aloof from electrification. And there was a high cost of operation, and you had to set plants every 2 to 3 kilometers in the boundaries. So there were a lot of problems when you wanted to electrify a particular area with direct current. But alternating current was the discovery of an amazing inventor, philanthropist, philosopher, scientist, engineer, Nikola Tesla. This man was hell of a genius man. His genius was never acknowledged and never recognized in his lifetime, and even today people refuse to give the credit to him for such amazing invention. He was single-handedly responsible for developing the entire circuitry system that we are seeing today. You must at least read the autobiography of Nikola Tesla. How wonderfully beautiful it is. It is available in the internet. You can find it, or you can check this man. This man could feel the electromagnetic waves that were coming from the space. This was the kind of man he was. He could hear things. He could see things that nobody else could see. Initially, he felt ill much often. He was just at the deathbed many times in his childhood, where many times doctor even refused to have a check on him because he was kind of not recoverable. But then, fate and destiny. He is amazing man. He had only one girlfriend in his entire life. Do you know it? Do you know who she was? He did not marry, of course. He was thoroughly single in solitude. And anybody of you, do you know about his girlfriend? The only girlfriend of Nikola Tesla was a pigeon. Okay? Pigeon. He loved animals a lot, especially birds. He had a very intimate relationship with birds. Nobody knows why, but he was a kind of person that you just cannot get away with. He had more than 400 patents, inventions. Okay? Many kind of optimizations, many situations, many kind of electrical and mechanical phenomena. Wireless electricity is just one very small aspect. This AC, alternating current. He tried to build a tower called as Wardenclyffe Tower, which he thought would provide wireless and free electricity to the entire world. But anyway, this project got abandoned because of monetary issues, commercial issues. See, Thomas Edison was a good inventor, but practically a very poor guy in his morale. He cheated Nikola Tesla many times in very bad ways. Because Thomas Alva Edison's business model was entirely made on direct current, and Nikola Tesla's idea was completely revolutionary, that alternating current will revolutionize the entire world. They two had constant clashes. When alternating current was just getting its place, recognition, then Thomas Alva Edison and other big businessmen, they tried to put fear in public by printing posters that how alternating current can electrocute you, how an alternating current chair can be used to electrocute a person, and blah blah blah. So this had always been there. There are people who try to create certain narratives, who try to propel certain narratives, but ultimately progress is what human beings go through. It has always been the case. There has been resistances, but yes, I can never finish enough about Nikola Tesla. He was this guy. You yourself must explore this man. There are wonderful documentaries on him. In one word, he was a miraculous man. He was no less than a magician. Of what he did, we are not even led to know that this entire thing is a creation of him. Anyway, so in alternating current, what happens is there is one wire which we call as the live wire. It is marked by red color. And there is one wire which we call as the neutral wire. It is marked by black color. This red wire, the live wire, is at a potential of 220 volts generally here. The voltage cannot be directly calculated like this. So there is a particular name to this voltage, that is RMS voltage. You don't need to know what it is. You just know that the live wire is at 220 volts and the neutral wire is at 0 volts. So basically the potential difference between live and neutral wire that is getting into our house is 220 volts. Any plug that you see, you will see that a plug consists of 3 parts. This is a little big, we shall come to this later. This is one and this is one. So this is live, this is neutral, this is how the circuit is connected in any plug you have. Now this comes from the main line from the streets to your house. The first thing, the first apparatus it needs to pass through is called as fuse. Fuse is very, very necessary. Do you know why? What is the yes, absolutely so. Absolutely so. Suppose anything happened. Suppose there was a transformer problem. There was some kind of problem, suppose, which caused a huge influx of current in a moment. If there was no fuse, it may burn your house. It may burn the electrical equipments and can lead to further damages. Fuse does not allow it to happen. So the fuse is made up of such a material. When a current more than the desired amount passes through it, it just heats up by heating effect and it just melts, thereby breaking the entire connection and keeping your house safe. Okay. Previously, fuses were used. Fuse were used 10 to 15 years ago, but now it is replaced by a concept called as MCB, or miniature circuit breaker. You might see this, that there is a switch, you do, the entire current will go off. You put it up, the current will come. In your house, there are MCBs right now. So why MCBs? Because see what happened now, a fuse, if it melted, you need to replace it with another fuse. You need to replace with a fuse where there was a lot of problems. But by these MCBs, this is called as miniature circuit breaker. What it does is, it just breaks the circuit just like that. The circuit breaks and you can once again connect it. The fuse does not get melt and the product is not, you need not replace it like that. It just breaks the circuit if current is more. Are you getting my point? This is quite mechanical in nature. So after it goes through a fuse, now if somebody is providing you electricity, he will be measuring how much electricity he is providing you. He's not going to give you for free. So this goes through an electricity meter. You might see a meter, or you can see a meter today after this class. You go out near your near where the connection comes to your house and you can see the electric meter. It is kind of digital. You have a board like this, you have readings here and you have many sort of lights and stuffs here. Do you see this? This is the meter board. It represents, or it denotes how much power you have consumed, or how much power you have, how much energy you have consumed. Next is the distribution channel. Distribution channel means this is from where the wires will be getting distributed to all the parts of your house. All the parts of your house which will be receiving electricity goes through this distribution channel, distribution box. So there are circuits. There are many kinds of circuits for first floor, second floor, third floor maybe. So there is this distribution box containing the fuses for each of the circuits. You have fuse for each of them. And you have kind of the connection, the network, which will now get distributed into all your parts, all your switch boxes or your circuits and blah, blah, blah. Now what happens is, this is the circuit, this is the main circuit that enters your house. This is how it is. Now, you can have a connection of a fan like this. You can have a connection of bulb like this. These are just two terminals, live and neutral. You can have a switchboard like this, okay, etc., etc. You can have multiple switchboard, it does not matter, but essentially the connection is between a live wire and neutral wire. Is this clear? There is one thing that is missing in this entire structure. Yet, this is not complete. There is one thing that is missing in the entire structure. That is, suppose there is any kind of incident of lightning or somewhat like that, or suppose your electric circuit, suppose in any way, it happened to store some current, or when it was transferring electricity, it kind of stored some electricity. So if you touch the part which had charges stored, you would get tremendous amount of electric shock. So that the excess amount of charges don't stay in a region or a circuit, there is an important concept called as earthing. Okay, there is an important concept called as earthing. Every heavy electricity consuming devices are earthed. If you have noticed it, or if you know it, okay, earthing is very necessary. The big plug that you see, this I was talking about, I said that I would tell you later. This is called as the earth wire or earthing. What is earthing? You take a wire and you just connect it to the ground. What happens? The excess charges that are produced here gets discharged through this. So the probability of you getting shock is very, 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 very less. Is this clear? So that means the earthing did not happen. That is only in small cases. Okay, you would always see that there are two kinds of plugs. One is when there are only two handles like this, and when there is like this, there are three such plugs. There are three such knob type structure. So you will see always that these are with heavy equipments like heater, AC, computers, but these are with the elements that consumes less power like light, table fan, etc., etc. Did you notice this? So where there is no earthing, if there is any kind of short circuit or charges are stored, there is a possibility that you might get electric shock. Everyone has got electric shock one way or the other. Is there anyone who did not get an electric shock? Is there any unfortunate being here who did not get an electric shock? Because you need to experience everything in life. I did many kind of idiotic things. I was about to burn my house one day, and then I learned that electricity is not something that you should play with without knowing it properly. So this is the entire domestic wiring of your house. This is how wiring happens, and this is what completes the entire chapter here.